Greetings. Today I'm going to talk about goal planning. Bad goal planning. I've always been someone who has set goals or things that I really hope to accomplish in the present year. Sometimes I set it up for 3 months. Sometimes I set it up for 6 months. Sometimes for the entire year. And truthfully, when I look back on all the times that I've set goals, I realized that I hit almost none of them. And the reason I believe I didn't hit them is because I did it badly. So today I'm going to be reading off this list, and of all things, I was going through my file cabinet and I came across this list of business goals that I had for 2011 that I put together in 2010. And as I looked at it, I said, oh my goodness, this just wasn't going to get it done. So I wanted to share this with you, tell you where I went wrong and how I went wrong, and a better way to do it that will come at the end. So let's look at this. The first thing I did was I wrote down the 5 main goals I wanted to hit. And then after that, I set the criteria for me to hit those goals. So the 5 goals were 4 CDM clients. Now CDM stands for Charge Description Master. I work in healthcare as a consultant, and a charge master is basically this massive list of all the regular charges that hospitals can charge for. Not room charges, but everything else. Trust me, it's really comprehensive. Anyhow, I had that set for 4 clients. I had 5 paid speaking engagements, 5 permanent web clients, 6 to 8 webinars, and 2 to 3 coaching clients. That sounds pretty ambitious, doesn't it? Well, let's go further. And I gotta put my glasses down lower so I can read my own list. It's hard getting old. Anyway, the first thing where I talked about getting the 4 CDM clients. And by the way, if I had been able to get 4 CDM clients, my revenue for the year would have been set. However, what I wrote down was send out marketing letters, 10 weekly, then repeat. Work healthcare list, because I had created a list of 30 hospitals that I was going to work. Most of them in New York State. So I was going to continue writing to those same folks. Write at least 3 more articles for my website on the topic, and try to get 1 article in a healthcare magazine or newsletter. Now, the problem with these is that it was just me. I had a whole lot of other things to do. There was no way I could keep up with this. You see the printer I have back here. So what I would have had to do was create the letters online, print them all out, then take the paper out, put envelopes in, and then print the envelopes, and then fold everything out, stamp it, and send it. Whew! Doing that once every 3 months, that's a task. I know that because I was doing that. So this is something that I had, in my own way, been doing for years, that I already knew how comprehensive that was going to be. So when you set a goal and you have certain work that you want to do on that goal, but you know way in advance how much that's going to drag and take out your time, you pretty much don't want to do it. Now, like I said, this was goal number 1. I got 4 more to talk about. So here's the next one. Get 5 paid speaking engagements. And the first one was research organizations that use speakers, contact representatives via email with specific topics, better define speaker presenter page on my website, and add a speaker presenter page on this other website, which I had at the time. The problem with that is that it was hard to do all the research online. You put in the word speaker and you get all sorts of things, not just presenting. So then you put in presenter, and once again you get tons of all kinds of things. I tried presentation. That certainly didn't work. And I could have talked about healthcare, I could have talked about finance, or I could have talked about SEO, I could have talked about leadership, diversity. I had a whole bunch of things I could have talked on. And so I tried to do that. I actually tried it. And then I recognized, you know what? This is difficult. If you think Google is hard to use now, Google was not all that easy to use 11 years ago. So it was doomed to fail. It was just no way that I could do this on a consistent basis. I could do it once maybe, but I tried. And I only basically found, I think, three websites that had speakers that they were looking for. And I sent them all letters. Never heard back from any of them. The thing is that they were all scheduling speakers 2 years in advance. So me sending stuff out today basically would have said I wouldn't have got scheduled for at least 2 years. So that was hard. The next one, get 5 permanent web clients. Now, one of the things that I was doing on the side, and for a while it was working pretty well, is I was building websites. I was writing HTML code. I was writing, a lot of the articles for folks who maybe they had blogs, but they didn't want to do that. I was doing all the SEO. I was monitoring it. I was getting all the stats. I was sending the client the stats. I was doing a lot of that. So I said, you know what? Let's see if I can get 5 consistent clients. It wasn't going to pay overly well, but I would have at least had some regular money coming in. I already had 2 clients at the time, so I thought, how difficult could this be? It turned out to be a lot more difficult than I thought, because you go to someone and you say, okay, what color background would you like? I don't know. Oh, well, would you like blue? Blue might work. Okay, you want dark blue, light blue, you want, what color do you want to print? How many images do you want? People had difficulty giving you that. And this is before you send them a contract. And one of the things that still happens in today's world is it's hard to talk to someone about building a website or managing a website or doing any of that other kind of stuff. And for me, which I would never try to do today, I could build a website, but I am not a designer. I do not have an art aesthetic. If you saw my business website, and by the way, the link is down below if you want to take a look at it. It's basic. It's really basic. I've got a lot of words. I've got a lot of content, but as far as it looking beautiful or whatever, putting those fancy pictures up or whatever, no, not my style. It doesn't work for what I do. Putting a picture on my bio page, I thought that was dangerous enough. I've covered that in previous videos where I've talked about diversity issues, so I'm not going to talk about that right now. But whew, that was difficult. So that was the problem with web clients. And by the way, I forgot to read what I had under that, which is talking about work local lists via the chamber directories. We have a local Syracuse chamber, which doesn't put out a directory anymore as far as I know. And I'm also a member of the local area chamber. I live in Liverpool, New York, and so we have a chamber. Put more advertising out on social media outlets. I found out that almost none of the people who were part of the Liverpool chamber were on social media. And probably only 25% of the people who were in the Syracuse chamber were on social media. So that wasn't going to go anywhere. Advertise more often on forums, Craigslist, etc. Wasn't nobody looking to hire anybody off of Craigslist. Forums? I got writing gigs from a couple of forums. One was called Digital Point, which is still around, by the way. But they weren't going to sign up for that. And get testimonials from current and former clients. I got testimonials from the current clients. So that was kind of cool. And I put that on my LinkedIn page at the time when I was doing that kind of work. But in general, they didn't know really what to say. That's hard. If you help someone to get their business going better because you know something about that business, that's one thing. I've got a bunch of testimonials on my LinkedIn site, but not for doing this. And then webinars. I said I was going to do 6 to 8 webinars. So the first thing was decide on topics to address and when. And I set a date by which I had to have 10 topics. Or 6 to 8. Yeah, decide on topics. I think I had 2 or 3. It's hard to think about topics you're going to talk on for the entire year. I had way too many things I could have talked about. Put out a schedule way in advance of when and what and how much. Whew. Once again, one guy. Impossible. Do them no matter how many folks show up to create products. Well, or to create product. I actually did a couple of local seminars, probably every year except for 2013 and 2014 because I was on the road. Every year up until I think 2016, I gave at least one live presentation a year. Sometimes I did more than that. I spoke at universities and I spoke at different, groups around town. Most of them I did not get paid for. But I knew about those topics. I said, you know what, let me get out here. Let me just do this. I needed to stay in practice. But that was going to be tough to do. So, and then I had 2 or 3 coaching clients because I had set myself up a decade earlier to do leadership training, leadership coaching of individuals. I actually had a couple of opportunities to do that. And what would happen is I gave a free 45-minute meeting with somebody by phone because back in the early days, we didn't have Skype, we didn't have Zoom, we had nothing like that. So it had to be over the phone. And it was free. So we could do free form. And what I found out that I did is quite often I helped them to solve one of their biggest issues during the first call. And when that happened, you know what? I never got anything more. So that kind of failed. The thing is that, like I said, I did all these things. I thought this was the way to go. And it turns out that was way too much stuff for one person. It made no sense to do that. I didn't have the control to be able to do all of that stuff. For instance, I told you, I'm looking on Google for all these things. I couldn't find what I needed. I couldn't go look for magazines because there are no healthcare finance magazines in any library in the nation. Just doesn't happen. There's a couple of business magazines, but nothing on leadership. There was a magazine back in the day called Diversity Inc. I don't know if that's still around. So that was difficult. No one was talking about SEO in magazines during the time that I was doing that kind of work. So I was destined to fail. That was just overwhelming. So how do you make goals differently? Well, there's actually 2 ways to do it. One, I've shown this before. This is the Passion Planner, because it's red. And one of the things that they put in the book is that they give you something where you can have a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, and a lifetime. And you only put down one thing for each of these. Actually, you can write a bunch, but you have to select then which one is the one you want to key on. And then when you get to that specific thing that you want to key on, all the different things you write down on because they give you the categories, you then go to the other side and you write all the things that you're going to try to do to get to that spot and a date that you hope to hit those. So for instance, glasses down, head on the nose again. The first one I wrote is I want to find, gotta take glasses off. I want to find ways to relax and, full relaxation, which is something I still don't really do, but I've gotten slightly better at it this year. So that was a big deal for me. And I had that down. And then I had another one, which was my main goal for the year, which was to generate $75,000. That's my main goal for the year. We'll be coming back to that one. And then for 3 months, the basic one was sleep better. I had nothing else. I just wanted to start sleeping better. That didn't happen in the first 3 months. It's starting to happen now, though. So maybe that should have been the 6-month goal. Then it talks about what do you want to do by 3 years? And I had 3 things written down. I ain't telling you what the other 2 are. But the biggest one was have enough money to pay off the house. I really want to just pay off this house and get it over with. I'm going to be paying on this thing, if I make the minimum payment, for about 9 more years. And these people are getting on my nerve. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to let you know they're on my nerve. And I didn't finance through them. They were basically the fourth organization who owned my mortgage, and they're the worst. And they're not New York State, which is really bothersome. And then the lifetime. So I wrote these things lifetime, and the one that I put down as the biggest one I wanted was to be happier. Well, you know, if you can do some of those others, then you have an opportunity. However, that's not really the plan. Those are the goals. And those are big, basic goals. There's nothing definitive. You just have, you know, it takes you a while to think, okay, what things would I want at these time periods? And that's pretty cool. But then the one that I had, that I said was my biggest overall goal, was to generate $75,000. Truthfully, if I can still do that by the end of the year, I could pay off 2/3 of the rest of my mortgage. I probably won't do it because, you know, you got other bills, you got taxes and whatever. But I could do it. So, what did I have? I'm still working on this project that I've had that gave me more trouble, still giving me more trouble than I thought it would. Although I'm close. I'm about this close to getting it all done. So, you had to write down what you were going to try to do, and then you had to try to put down a date for it. So, here's the thing. I said 20 pieces of content for the membership site by January 29th, 22. I wanted 20 pieces, 20 articles. I got 30, so I beat that one. Launched the membership site by February, middle of February. That couldn't happen because of all the coding issues I had. But the thing is that I thought I would be able to do it, but it turns out I needed a lot more than what I had at the time. Then I wrote down to create 5 to 8 new pieces of content monthly. Like I said, I hit 30 early on, and then I've been spending all the rest of my time working on this thing. I've spent up to 8 hours sometimes just working on this site. That's why I think that I'm close to a breakthrough, maybe mid-June. Get a consulting gig if I need it by the middle of June. Well, if I can launch this thing by middle of June, I won't need that, so that one we throw out. Work the planner consistently. Look at this. Well, it's hard for you to see, but I have lots of stuff on every page for the entire year so far. So I have worked this planner. It has helped me to write things down on what I want to get done during that week. Stickers have helped a lot. I guess I'm a little more visual than I thought I was. And the last part was to stay calm and listen to music more often. And I've done that. I have downloaded a few pieces of ambient music. Harry Potter, Narnia, Lords of the Ring. I've done that. I've created some playlists of certain types of music. Jackson 5 music, quiet, calm music, certain classical favorites that I like. I've got a rock playlist. I've got a disco playlist. And then I got a playlist of just random things that make me feel good when I want to listen to them. I've done all that kind of stuff. So that has actually worked better than me doing something like this. That's a killer. So anyway, that's my thought on when you're going to try to set goals and you're going to try to plan to get stuff done. You don't overdo it. You need to think about, is it possible for you to do all the things that you wrote down? That was way too much stuff. But my thinking at the time was, I'm planning for the year and I need to write it all down. It doesn't hurt to write down a whole bunch of things. As a matter of fact, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I went into the dining room and I put this giant paper out, a couple of giant pieces of paper, and I created categories and I wrote all this stuff down on it. And I had a lot. And this wasn't just business. This was the house and life and relaxing, you know, all these different things. And then I chose a couple of those things that I was going to concentrate on more than the rest of them. Because if you've got all that other stuff down, even if you've written it, it's all in your head, you just probably can't do it at all. That's what I have. And I'm putting this video out because, you know, that video I did a couple weeks ago where I talked about not being on Twitter anymore, it basically means that I can put out content whenever I want to because I don't have to follow the schedules that I always followed. So I could promote everything on Twitter. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, my name is Mitch Mitchell. Let me know your thoughts on goals and plans. Do you do any goal setting? You know, do you have plans? How do you do it? Are you following this kind of script? Yeah, let me just slow that down a little bit. Are you following a script like that? Or are you following something that you say, you know what, I can at least do this? Let me know. Y'all take care.